meeting of the Transportation Committee of the County Board. And we have a request for payment of bills. And has everybody had a chance to look at the bills? All right, is there a motion? Motion by member Waschinsky, seconded by member Friedrich. Is there any discussion or questions about the bills?
Need him to approve the minutes too.
This is Cassie.
All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And I don't believe we had any transfer requests, so we can talk about the minutes of the April 7th meeting. Is there a motion? Member Johnston moved to approve, seconded by member Martin. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, we'll go on to show bus. And a request for operating equipment, 3 new buses, as well as a maintenance vehicle and other miscellaneous equipment. Is there a motion? Motion by member Logan Smith and seconded by member William Friedrich. Is there any discussion? Is Mrs. Dick here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Is there anything you wish to say about this operating equipment as well as office equipment?
Well, the only comment I would have was this grant was released some time ago through Rebuild Illinois, and we really don't know what the future is with the grant, but we still turned in the application.
Any questions? All right. Is there any discussion of this? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The next is a matching fund request for Rapp Road, which is the road that ends up at Kamlara Park.
Hey, Judge, there's a couple before that. There's a construction lighting and equipment purchase. Number 2 is the construction lighting.
Oh, I see it, yes. All right, is there a motion on the construction? Moved by member Martin. Seconded by member Friedrich. Is there any question about this or any discussion? Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is the equipment purchase. Does anyone want to equip our highway department? Logan Smith does, moved by Smith, seconded by Friedrich. Is there any discussion? Mr. Stokes, is there anything you want to say about this?
I think Member Johnson has a question, but these are vehicles that we had that we were trading in last month. So these are the replacement vehicles off the state bid. Last month, the state wasn't confirmed on the pricing and everything, and so we're basically bringing this through here in May.
Member Johnston.
So have these vehicles already been purchased?
No, they have not been purchased.
I know that you guys like to keep the replacements rotating at a good rate so that we maintain kind of that ratio of repairs versus the new purchase and try to get them at good prices. I guess my question is, how essential is it to purchase them this year, given we don't really know what the fallout's going to be in the coming year? And if it's something where we can save money to put towards whether it's salary or some other part of the highway department, I'm wondering if it would be better to hold off on this purchase. I mean, we're replacing 2014s, so just a question.
Sure. So yeah, one is a 2014 and the other one's like 2006. The 2014 has 160,000 miles on it, and it's our service truck that our sign foreman uses. So it's running all the time. And then the other one is a dump truck that has 140,000 miles on it. It's 2006, and it's a diesel. And so we're replacing it with gas to make it more efficient. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point on the budget side of it. It was included in the budget for this year. We also had, some other highway project on the Colfax West Road that we're currently bidding. We got really good prices on that, so we had a big savings there for that. So, I think for this year, I think we're sitting pretty good as far as where the highway department is in regards to funding and that type of thing. And I'm going to kind of go into the MFT a little bit later, but I think we're just going to, if we don't do something, number one, these were vehicles that we kind of traded in locally to a vendor last month, and then also that we need to replace, moving forward. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of pushing it down the road.
Further questions? Comments? All right. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, we'll go on then back to Ropp Road and the resurfacing project there. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Member Johnston, seconded by Member Waschinsky. Is there a discussion of this? Is there anything you want to say about this, Mr. Stokes?
No, I'll just this is a kind of a pavement preservation that we've done in the past. Sometimes we do oil and chip in the hot mix roads. This has got a little more traffic count, so we decided to do a microsurfacing, which is a little bit more it's kind of latex, smaller aggregate involved. And it's a 2-pass system. Last time we did it was on section V back in 2008, so like 12 years ago, and it's held up really well. And I was thinking at the time when we did it, it was only going to buy us about 5 years. It probably, it's ended up buying us like 10 to 12. And that's because Section B is on schedule to be resurfaced here in about 2 years. So we gained, probably 5, 6 more years out of it than I was expecting.
Questions for Mr. Stokes? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The next is a request for a resolution authorizing the county engineer to sign joint agreements with the Illinois Department of Transportation. Is there a motion? Motion by member Johnston, seconded by member Friedrich. Any questions about this? All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The next is a request for bridge construction petition for a joint culvert number 1 and 2 out in Tanglewood, is it? It's in Old Town Township.
Yeah, one is in Tanglewood and the other one is on 850 North down off the Gillum Road.
Is there a motion? Moved by member Friedrich, seconded by member Thompson.
This is going to be, these are going to be culvert liners that it's kind of similar to what we did up at Comlar Park and we did one for Danvers Township a couple years ago. One of them, the one in Tanglewood actually goes across a cul-de-sac. And so it's probably 120 foot long. And so it'd take multiple days to do that. Whereas with this culvert liner, they can go in there in a day and be done and out of there. And the other one on 850 is fairly deep, and that's a busy road for Old Town. So he wanted to do both of these at culvert liners, and we agree.
Member Martin, you want to tell us about the efficacy of culvert liners?
I haven't crawled down in that ditch for a while, quite a while, so I can't comment, but I think that Member Thompson had a question.
All right, member Thompson.
Yeah, I was just curious, explain the liner part. That's different than a regular culvert, is that correct? Did you hear me?
Yes. But what they do is they insert what is in essence a bag into the culvert, and then they pump steam down into it, and that causes the bag to fill up and completely line the interior of the culvert, and then it hardens, and it is the culvert is in essence fixed.
Yeah,
You say that's roughly the process. Sorry,
the
Mr.
fabric
Martin.
that's used is impregnated with a resin that reacts with the steam and the heat, and then that cures out. Depending on the size, it can take anywhere from 45 minutes to a couple hours to cure. And then depending on the depth of the actual pipe, the thickness of the fabric will vary. On these pipes specifically, we're probably going to lose about an inch to an inch and a half on your inside diameter, but you're going from corrugated metal pipe to smooth wall interior, so you're gaining on your velocity. So the hydraulics, as far as the calculations go, the pipe will handle the same amount of water.
Further questions, Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, does it give any additional structure or is it just mainly to keep it from leaking?
Yes, so the structure, it actually has about a 75-year service life. And the design of these liners assume that the metal culvert will actually have 100%, degradation to it. So the liner itself becomes the culvert, and that's where, it's reinforcing, it takes the shape of the corrugations, but it actually has its own structure to it.
Further questions? This is a process that has been used successfully by the city of Bloomington on sanitary sewers and also by the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District. And they seem pleased, and the one in Danvers Township is right next to Member Martin's farm. So you can ask him about that.
Guided tours later.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, the next is a petition for culvert replacement in Randolph Township. Is there a motion? Motion by Member Friedrich, seconded by Member Smith. You want to tell us a little bit about this, Mr. Stokes?
Sure. So this is on 300 North, and it's actually it's a hot mix road for the township right now, and he's looking to do something to overlay it or resurface it basically. And so he wanted to replace this culvert. It's actually a triple culvert, and the bottoms are rusting out, and the edges are kind of around the shoulder are sucking in, so there's a problem down there. We're actually taking the 3 out and putting 2 bigger culverts back because there's enough room to do that.
All right.
I have
Member
a
Friedrich.
question for you, Jerry or Luke. Looking on the map on page 40, I think that's 40. Yeah, page 40. Between those two state highways, 51, this road is Randolph Township Road, or do we have authority on that road? I was looking at the different colors and their hot mixes and oil and chip and that. Where's our authority at on these? Is there any?
So it is a Randolph Township road, and I don't know how it became a hot mix road. It must have been something that the state might have hot mixed it at first, but yeah, there is some townships do have a hot mix road. He's got a couple other hot mix roads up there by Randolph Elevator, and so this is another one, and then he's got a couple down by on the for the where the terminal's at for the gas and diesel and that. So yeah, so this is just one of the many roads or few roads that he has that are hot mix.
Okay,
Further questions?
I'm just trying to figure out where this divide on who does what. It's the county's responsibility or the township's on replacement of this culvert, or any of them in the entire county.
So
This is a township road.
So it's a township road, and then what they do is they come in to us and say they need to replace a culvert, and so then we go out and look at it, and then depending on what township it is, we look at their EAV, and and we have to, once it's 0.2% of their EAV, then it actually qualifies for a joint culvert. And so if it qualifies for a joint culvert, then we split it 50-50. And so then that's that's where all these townships come in at. Now, if it doesn't qualify, then the townships are on their own to replace it.
Okay, that answered my question. That answered my question right there. I'm not being critical of our township. I was just wondering how this gets divvied up on who pays for what.
Sure, yeah, yeah, usually like, especially for Randolph and Old Town, their EAV is really high, so it's hard for him to actually have joint culverts like this. And then Randolph kind of the same way. And so it's got to be a certain price threshold before we can participate in that cost. But this is by statute. There's a statute that requires us to replace these culverts 50-50 with the townships.
Okay. Thank you for educating me.
Well, this rarely occurs. In fact, I don't think I've ever had it experiencing this occur with respect to normal township, because they don't meet the threshold of 0.02% of the assessed valuation. So the bigger the township, the higher the assessed valuation, the less chance that township has to foist upon us a financial responsibility for this.
Yeah, and there is certain certain maximum tax rates that they need to be maxing in certain funds, and that's another requirement for us to participate, as well as like you mentioned, normal. So yeah, he's probably got a higher EAV, but I don't even know if he has a bridge fund, because I don't think he has any bridges in his township. So a lot of times, if he needs a culvert replaced, we'll do it for him, but he pays us to do it, and it's not a 50-50 split.
All right, are we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Then we'll go on to items for information, and we'll let you go ahead, Mr. Stokes.
The first item is the recently filled positions, and so we do not have any at the highway department that have been recently filled. So we'll move on to the project summaries. So the first one is the Gridley Road, which is going as a mile, going from Route 24 to the Livingston County line. They just started work last week and beginning of this week, got about 1,500 feet of curb to replace there on the first quarter mile of the Gridley Road. And then they're just gonna basically mill and resurface it. So they just started this project, and hopefully they get that going over the next month. So, and then the next project is the Colfax Weston Road. The contractors hit this project hard, and so they're almost actually fairly close to having it all resurfaced. They got maybe a half a day left, and with the rain today, they got called off, but so they'll finish it tomorrow. Then they have to come back with shoulders and guardrail and that, but that ought to be finished in the next month, and turned out really good on that. So, and then we have a couple other projects I didn't list on there. The bike trail, Route 66 bike trails underway on construction, going from a mile south of Shirley to Funks Grove. And then we have the last timber pile bridge that we talked about over in Dale Township is underway. It was underwater for about a week with all the rain last week and stuff. So we still need to we got like half the pile in, and we need to finish that up. And they're doing that today, actually. It finally went down. So we're proceeding along on there. Any questions on the projects? So, the next thing on the information item is
Go ahead.
the stormwater, education report for, the fourth quarter of 2019. So that just kind of goes through what the Ecology Action Center is doing as far as the community outreach and, you know, assuming it's a lot of that's been lessened here with the climate that we're in. So the next thing I was wanting to talk about was the kind of funding a little bit. We're not sure how the motor fuel tax is how that's gonna affect us over these next 3 months. Assuming that it's gonna be way down what we expected as far as our budget wise goes. And I did have another project that we were thinking about doing this year. One, we didn't have the staff to really to get it put together and to watch it once we got it done. But it's a little bit of a blessing because of the current climate we're in on the funding side. But I did get some good news at the end of last week and yesterday that so part of the state's budget last year included a bonding component for the capital program. And so IDOT is releasing those funds this week. And so it's a 6-year capital program, and it's $1.5 billion total. And so basically half of that is going to the counties and townships, and the other half is going to the municipalities and the cities. And so what that means for us is it's going to be an additional $2 million a year that we're going to receive as part of that. So it'll help offset right now, some of the MFT revenue loss that we don't have. And then and moving forward, it'll be able to be used on future projects. So, and they're planning on, depending on when they sell the bonds, there's going to be an allotment that's going to be submitted in the spring and then one in the fall. And so they're going to do $2 million a year for the next 3 years. So it'll end up being $6 million total for just the McLean County Highway Department. And then the townships will have, they'll get a portion of that as well, based on their MFT formula and the mileage they have. And so this, this kind of same program that Laura had mentioned on the Rebuild Illinois is what it's called, and that's where this money's coming from. Now, there's a couple caveats to it. One is, so any townships or any entity that receives over $45,000 has to spend that money on what they consider a bondable project. And so they basically want you to use doing it on like reconstruction projects or projects that are going to have a long service life. And then if it's under 45,000, then they can use it for just their common maintenance, like cover seal and that type of thing. And so right now we only have like one township that is close to that 45,000 that may fall into that category. So we're going to have to, see what kind of be creative and see what kind of projects we can develop for him. And then there'll be other townships that will probably use this money for different things, but so it'll be a good thing moving forward.
All right, are there any questions for our county engineer? Member Johnston.
Thank you. I know that we've had discussions recently about how the high prices of oil have impacted like the oil and chip work that we do, some of the materials that we buy. Can you talk a little bit about with oil prices bottoming out, are we seeing that? I think you mentioned it earlier. Can you talk a little bit about what we can expect in the next year or two?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I've talked to the oil suppliers, here and there, and kind of, jokingly talk about the oil prices going down. And of course, they tell me they have everything stored from last year, basically, and then they kind of move forward from there. So, yeah, the oil price is down now. I mean, who knows what'll happen in the fall? They'll probably go back up, and then they'll they'll just refill our tanks at that price, and I really don't see it. The problem with the oil that we use is from the refineries is like the last thing that comes out of the refineries, and so it's like the most expensive thing that they do, and so then once it comes to us, and I really don't see it going down much. I mean, it may go down some, but not significant.
Would anybody like to buy a new crystal ball for the county engineer? All right. Are there further matters that we need to take up?
I think Member Friedrich might have wanted to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Member
Jerry,
Friedrich.
what township was it that was hitting that $45,000 limit?
It was Gridley Township. And,
Okay.
and he wasn't, based on the estimates that we had, I mean, the numbers change. I mean, he was like 44,500. So, I mean, he's right there. So if there's I think it's based on like the prior months. Well, the estimates that we have was based on February allotments of MFT. So depending on how the MFT distribution goes, it could vary a little bit each month. But there was a couple other townships that were around 40. Randolph was at 40,300. So there is a chance that they could kick up into that 45,000 range.
Okay. That's all I had.
This was kind of a big deal moving forward as far as, because originally I think the number that IDOT was looking at was like 250,000 was the range. And I don't know if that was, I think at that time they were looking at the total. And so then they decided, well, they'll come back and look at it individually. And that's where the 45,000 came in at. So actually the threshold was like 270,000 for over the 3 years for the majority of the townships.
Further questions? Is there any other business to come before the meeting? Very well then. The meeting of the Transportation Committee is adjourned.